So my husband and I are having this show at First Street Gallery, Playhouse.
My wife and I have been married for about 5 years now. In fact, we are within a week, as I speak, of our 5th wedding anniversary, and we're expecting a tiny little roommate.
We've shown our work together one other time, but I think when we talked about doing this, our work exists kind of nicely together. We both are sort of dealing with domesticity in different ways.
So Playhouse is really a way to connect the themes that I've been working on and thinking of with things that are also central to Claire's art. And the connections between those things in our art, I think, are also the things that serve to make us as compatible human beings who are going to be launching this project of caring for another human being, as scary as that sounds. So I guess now that it's time to collaborate on something, we really started talking about those themes that we share in common, and the project that we're working on will have elements of craft with an uppercase C and craft with a lowercase c, and
hopefully all of it can be interpreted as art. Maybe.
or not. I mean, it's nice to be provocative in that realm as well. Playing with materials is a huge part of what we do. I think also for both of what both of us do, using craft to rebel a little bit. Claire started making glitter paintings as a way of sort of pushing back against macho personalities in her painting department, and I've got a lot of the same tendencies in my work. So in a way, I think probably Playhouse has been brewing since before we knew each other. And this show actually kind of gave us a chance to really think about some of the similarities that maybe had never quite dawned on us before. I don't know, maybe we're...
Well, I think we both let our environments influence imagery.
Part of, I think, being a couple that works well is we're very different, and I'm not blessed with the organization skills and domestic skills and neatness skills that Claire is, but you've done a good job of training me a little bit more,
cleaning
domesticating me
yeah.
a little bit more. I guess I'm lucky enough to have been somewhat at the vanguard of blogging. There really were not that many craft blogs out there in the early 2000s when I started extremecraft.com.
Garth blogging led to the two of us blogging together for Ready Made magazine, which we started doing right when we moved into this house. We were keeping up pretty good tabs on all of our projects and everything that we did in the house. And that was kind of a nice resource. I mean, it was a nice place to... we got to write about our house, and then whenever we were stuck in the middle of a project and not ready to write about it, we also got to just write about other things that we were interested in, and that was a nice kind of outlet. But it's interesting how those internet opportunities can kind of spin into other ones. Garth ends up writing a lot for magazines and books and other blogs, guest blogging. I don't necessarily guest blog, but now we both have columns for the online magazine Craft.
I don't have a permanent studio, so I like to be someone who can pack up a few supplies and really take what I'm doing wherever I need to go. As long as I can find a ceramic kiln to fire things, I can really make my work anywhere. I'm someone who artistically maybe has never transcended the influences that I had growing up, so I'm very influenced by going to church camp and making God's eyes and using crayons and cutting things apart with scissors and, like Claire, using glue and glitter. I've never quite grown out of a lot of the things that I liked to do craft-wise when I was a kid. So one of my favorite things, even when I was throwing pots on the potter's wheel, was making teapots. Our lives have become a little bit divorced from the use of teapots, yet the teapot still remains a very potent symbol of ceramics. It remains one of the sort of showpiece thing that ceramic artists will put together. It remains something that people collect. I'm attracted to strong, vibrant images, and I guess I'm always trying to find ways to mix up the imagery, and I'm appropriating imagery, using things from my own imagination in the teapots that I do and the plastic bottles that I pursue as a vehicle for narrative imagery. And there's constantly a push and a pull between the narrative imagery and the body of the teapot, of the object itself. Decoration has become a symbol for me in a way, and right now a lot of my work juxtaposes pattern and the way patterns are produced and these carbon-emitting vehicles and factories. And so in a lot of my recent work you see something decorative spewing out of a factory or spewing out of a tractor. One of the things that I think of a lot is the place that pattern has and the place that decoration has in our own life. And I believe that we're living in a very Baroque era of pattern decoration. I enjoy technique and technical processes, the ways that things are made using industrial processes. So I tend to use in the ceramic world a lot of slip casting using liquid clay and plaster molds to replicate objects. So there's a whole process of creating a form that holds the tea, and then you have to match a handle and a spout to the teapot. And so honestly, of all of the things that I do, matching that handle and spout to the form of the pot is one of my favorite things to do. I could spend hours minutely moving around those pieces or creating maybe 20 pieces, of which maybe a few I'm happy about just because of the minutiae of how the handles and spouts are balanced. So I'm constantly going to thrift stores and flea markets and picking up silver-plated teapots and other teapots to cannibalize for their spouts. I could show you in my back room a pile of beat-up teapot bodies that I've beaten with hammers to get the handles and the spouts to come off. And then when I'm conceptualizing a body of work and using new forms, I tend to take a bunch of those silver handles and spouts and I'll go into a store and audition the parts together. Looking at my plates, looking at my pots, looking at all of the things that I make, sometimes it's difficult to tell whether they are serious critiques of our condition, or whether they're just there to make people laugh or to make me laugh. And I can't separate those two things.
My name is Claire Joyce, and I live in Eureka, California. I work in a studio outside of my house, and in my studio I make glitter paintings. Growing up, I've always been making art. I mean, I think almost since I could hold something in my hand, that was a way I could entertain myself. My time in Kansas City was all about, everyone kind of blurred the lines between what materials you used for what, and what project you should or shouldn't work on. People who were painting were not only painting, they would also dip into these weird art party video extravaganzas, and it just kind of, I think it blurred the lines between all media in this really nice way for me when I was still really young, that just kind of made it seem like anything was possible in terms of what you might work on. It was a really lucky place to be. When I went to go get my MFA, it was actually a really difficult transition for me because I had been in Kansas City where it was kind of acceptable to be in one area in school or in just the art scene in general, and then work in 1,000 different other areas. Everybody kind of felt like everything crossed over, and then I went to grad school and it was not like that. I got into this painting department and everyone was making paintings, which was shocking for some reason. I mean, it shouldn't have been, but it was kind of shocking that everybody was painting. I chose glitter as my medium. To be obnoxious. My first glitter paintings were not as detailed as they are now. I mean, they were very simple and plain and, kind of striped and flat. I really like looking at old paintings. I think most of the paintings that are going to go in the show, I initially looked at some paintings from, maybe like the 14th or 15th century that I was looking at and kind of borrowing certain things from. So a lot of times I'll spend time looking at art history books or just art books. And that's where I'll start. And then from there, I usually take a ton of photographs. Of active work time, I spend 300 or 600 hours a lot of times. So I come in and I'm really good at just being focused, and I like to work at like 8-hour stretches. And I will just sit and kind of, if it's a tiny area, I'll take a paintbrush. So I do use a brush, and I'll brush into a little area and just dip my fingers into the glitter pot and sprinkle. And if there are multiple colors in that little area, I will sometimes take both hands and just sprinkle. I mean, it's just dropping color into glue the same way you did when you made Valentines when you were in grade school. Most people respond really well to the paintings. Another thing that I like is I like using the glitter because I think it's a relatable material. And I think that really gives people an entry point also, because most people have touched glitter before, even if someone just gave them a card made of glitter. But most people, at least when they were small, had to use it in a craft project or something. And so I think it feels less mysterious to people than maybe paint does, because paint can just feel so magical, and how is someone handling it, and you have to be an artist to handle that, whereas I think it gives, just the materials give someone an entry into looking at my paintings that makes them more relatable in that way, because they've touched the materials. So that automatically, I think, makes people respond pretty well. And my work is, as I said earlier, a lot of my imagery is engaged in these very mundane, common tasks, but I do like to think that there's some absurdity and humor inserted in the, contextualizing them in the form of these old famous paintings also. And using glitter, I mean, that's a ridiculous thing to spend your time making paintings with in a certain way. So there's this play element where we're kind of playing with these tropes and ideas of, what it means to be in a domestic situation.